Hi everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here for my top 5 comics of October 2013. Let's get started with my number 5 pick, Nightwing, number 24, the conclusion to the Tony Zucco and Prankster story arc. Nightwing is pretty much forced to team up with Tony Zucco to help save the mayor and also stop the prankster from setting off a giant bomb in Chicago. They're able to do so. Also, Zucco does shoot the prankster. He lives, but he's in critical condition. Also, once Zucco is arrested, he tells his lawyer that he wants to, face the charges like a man. He wants to set a good example for his son, but unfortunately, it turns out that we don't know for sure, but Zucco got this in a letter that apparently his wife and his son have left him, and realizing that the life he enjoyed as Billy Lester is no more, he decides to go back to being Tony Zucco. And also, Nightwing decides to stay in Chicago. Alright, I like this issue. I really did like the whole Tony Zucco story arc. I do like the whole Tony Zucco story arc. Obviously, we weren't ready to see that end, because that's the whole reason Nightwing's in Chicago is because of Tony Zucco. Now he's staying there for good, which I think is great. And I think we might see Tony Zucco return sometime, but I wish they had concluded this story arc before Forever Evil started, okay? Because now that Forever Evil started, we all know in the first issue Nightwing was captured, and his secret ID was revealed, and if you read the Secret Society tie-in issue for Villains Month, you know that Owlman's version of Dick Grayson on Earth 3 died, so obviously he wants to, I guess, turn Dick to the dark side. And there's going to be at some point there is going to be a conversation between the two, and I really hope that happens in the pages of Nightwing. And we get some tie-in with Nightwing to Forever Evil, because I think Nightwing is going to play a big role in that event. Yeah, but overall, Nightwing number 24 was a good issue. I would say once this story arc comes out into trade form, get it. Next month is going to be a 0-year tie-in for Nightwing, so I'm kind of looking forward to that in a way. Alright, next up, number 4 is the second half of X-Men Battle of the Atom. That's right, I read the entire second half of X-Men Battle of the Atom. Basically, it pretty much ends with, picks up from the first half. Apparently, the future X-Men that were introduced at the beginning of the story arc aren't really the X-Men, they're actually the Brotherhood. They're actually that timeline's Brotherhood, and so when Magic and young Bobby Drake and young Hank McCoy went to the past, they meet the real X-Men. And so they pretty much bring the real future X-Men into the present. Pretty much all the X-Men, Cyclops' team, Wolverine's team, the future X-Men all join forces to go and stop the Brotherhood, who apparently want to reveal to the X-Men that despite everything, humans are never going to trust them. They apparently staged an attack on the military base where the first X-Men fought Magneto for the first time, and they pretty much get S.H.I.E.L.D. to somehow launch all their weapons, which include Sentinels. So now the X-Men know that S.H.I.E.L.D. has their own Sentinels, and pretty much during the fight, some of the future X-Men die, some of the Brotherhood die, some get away and they're still in the present, but fortunately, one of the future X-Men, who's apparently Storm's daughter, decides to stay in the present to help hunt them down. And in the end, the future X-Men go back to their own time period, but also Kitty Pryde and the original X-Men decide to leave the Jean Grey school and join Cyclops' side. Kitty left because of how most of the X-Men didn't trust her back in the first half. If you remember, Kitty and Rachel Grey tried to help the original X-Men. They gave them the benefit of the doubt when everyone was like, okay, we've got to send them back. They gave them the benefit of the doubt, but unfortunately, no one believed them, and because of that, Kitty feels like, no one trusts her, so she's not going to be there anymore. And the original X-Men decide to leave because they don't want to stay anywhere where they're not welcome. So that's how, and so pretty much that's kind of a game changer, I think, for the all-new X-Men. And there is a hint and there is a little nod about what's going to happen in Amazing X-Men with the return of Nightcrawler. So that's also good. But yeah, overall, I thought Battle of the Atom was okay. Was a pretty good event. I mean, it brought back all the X-Men together. Unfortunately, they're still kind of divided between Team Cyclops and Team Wolverine. And also now it feels like, also the way it ends, since technically the all-new X-Men have joined, the original X-Men have joined Cyclops' team, it feels like there's going to be 4 main X titles, and two of them, Amazing X-Men and Wolverine the X-Men, will be written by Jason Aaron, and the other 2, Uncanny and All New X-Men, are going to be written by Brian Michael Bendis. So it's kind of like those 2 writers just decided to sort of like share the, like, write for each team of X-Men. Like Bendis is Team Cyclops and Aaron is Team Wolverine. So I think that's interesting. I know I'm probably forgetting a bunch of other X-Men titles, like X-Men. X-Men, that's still a Wolverine, kind of a Team Wolverine title, but it's written by James Wood. I believe that's the first name of the writer. Battle of the Atom was a good event. I would say if you didn't get it because you couldn't afford all the other tie-ins, hey, I don't blame you. Wait for the trade to come out, because it is pretty interesting. Although, if you're not a fan of time travel, then I don't say get it, because if you don't like time travel, you're really not going to like this. But overall, if you are an X-Men fan, you want to read the story they did to honor the X-Men's 50th anniversary, then by all means get Battle of the Atom when the trade comes out. Okay, moving on. Number 3 is the Superior Spider-Man. And speaking of time travel, Superior Spider-Man 19. They're able to stop. They're pretty much able to stop the Chronotons from destroying New York City, but Horizon Labs is destroyed. Like, the actual building is destroyed. Also, Spider-Man 2099 is now trapped in the present. After he fixes the time anomaly, thinks he's cemented again. As you can see on the cover, he was like starting to fall apart because he is Tiberius Stone's grandson. But fortunately, he's able to save it. Unfortunately, though, Tyler Stone traps the CEO of Alchemax in 2099, traps him in the present, and so he decides to go get a job in the present timeline, the newly formed Alchemax, to work as Tiberius Stone's assistant, as Michael O'Mara, even though his playing on his real name, Miguel O'Hara. And also Max Modell makes a deal with Mary Jonah Jameson that Jameson will help get the feds off his back if Modell agrees to no longer do any experiments in New York City. So Modell agrees to that, and also he cuts all ties to Spider-Man and Peter Parker. After the explosion, Spider-Man was a little displaced in time, but he brought him back, and he told Spider-Man that this is it, we're even. For you and Peter Parker, I say we go our separate ways from now on. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. No more Horizon Labs. It's a shame. It's a shame. That was a good element that Dan Slott brought in. That was the thing. That was one of the game change. That was the first thing Dan Slott did on his run on Spider-Man, was he brought in Horizon Labs, and now it gave Peter a job. Now it's gone. So that's pretty interesting. That's very interesting. Also, Superior Spider-Man number 20. Despite what you see here, no, there is no romantic moment between the Superior Spider-Man and Black Cat, because basically Otto does find the Black Cat breaking in, but he beats the hell out of her. Like, he just treats her like any other criminal, beats her up, webs her up to the wall, and leaves her for the authorities to come. And of course, this sets Black Cat is angry. But back in his personal life, Otto now decides to use his legal identity, since legally he is Peter Parker. He decides to, and there's no more Horizon Labs, he decides to set up his own company, and he applies for a bank loan, and he applies for a business loan that he co-signs with J. Jameson, Aunt May's new husband, and also one of his former colleagues from Horizon from the last issue. And he decides, and after that, he has to. It's the day that that pretty much we've all been waiting for since the early issues of Superior was Peter finally presenting his doctoral thesis. And of course, right after he makes his presentation, his teacher, Dr. Lamaze, suddenly says that you've plagiarized the whole thing. This is actually from unpublished papers of Dr. Otto Octavius. That's right, someone actually knows that's not. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, hey, he actually did. Yeah, so they were his own. It's funny. Otto's past has come back to haunt him in a way because he's trying to be. He believes that Peter Parker is a new life, a new clean slate. But unfortunately, his past catches up to him, and it's also going to catch up to him next issue because apparently Otto's ex-girlfriend Stunner has woken up from her coma, and now she wants vengeance on Spider-Man for killing Doc Ock. So yeah. So Superior Spider-Man, first of all, the way the 2099 story ended, it definitely brought, I thought the conclusion of this definitely kind of brought back Spider-Man 2099 back to the main Marvel fold. I think right now it's kind of open-ended whether or not we get to see more of Miguel, because the way Dan Slott set it up in this issue was that we could have a spin-off for 2099 if Marvel wanted. I mean, so far people are thinking that, yeah, there is going to be one, but so far nothing's been confirmed by Marvel. Marvel, seriously, you should do a spin-off for 2099 because I know there are a lot of people who are Spider-Man 2099 fans and they would love it. If you get the right people behind it, it can work. And for Superior Spider-Man number 20, we're now starting to see sort of the end of the Superior Spider-Man in a sense, because everything that Otto's trying to work for, his doctoral, because Otto initially, when he first became Peter Parker, he thought, oh, this is a clean slate, this is a fresh start for me, and he decides to, try to apply for his doctorate, but unfortunately now it's starting to catch up with him. He thought he could use his own work again, but nah, some people recognized it, and thus it's no longer going to work. And also, I think that eventually all this other stuff is going to catch up to Otto. Eventually we will see the end of the Superior, eventually everything that Otto's trying to build with his personal life, it's all going to fall apart. And right when that happens, that's going to be the moment we get Peter Parker back. If it does, I feel like that's the moment when Otto has pretty much destroyed his life as Peter Parker. That's when Peter's going to come back, and he's going to be the one stuck picking up all the pieces. Yeah, and the reason I say that Peter's going to be back is because of the way in issue 19, Otto has to access some memories that he didn't look at before, and when he's doing it, he is able to remember them. And when he does it, we actually get a little glimmer of hope here about the return of Peter Parker. Maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. I'm really not going to put my eggs in one basket again for that theory. Okay, moving on. Number 2, Forever Evil. Number 2, and also one of the tie-ins, Justice League number 24. Okay, in Forever Evil number 2, I really like the way Jeff Johns wrote Lex Luthor in this issue. Okay, I really like his montage in the beginning, his monologue in the beginning about how the crime syndicate talked about survival of the fittest, and how there are some people who there's 2 ways to survive. You either put your head down, not make any waves, or you figure out how to beat it. And pretty much Luthor, Luthor decides that he's going to stop the crime syndicate, but he needs help. And he decides to activate his Superman clone, aka Bizarro, early, because Bizarro needed at least 10 years of stasis and stuff in order to stabilize. But unfortunately, since all power's cut off, the clone's going to die anyway. So Luthor figured, okay, I'm just going to let him out now, even though it's only been 5 years. Also, since all the Justice Leagues are gone, the Teen Titans try to stop the crime syndicate. Yeah, that doesn't go so well because Johnny Quick sends them into the future by using Kid Flash's powers against him. And also we learned that, behind the scenes with the crime syndicate, we actually learned that Superwoman is pregnant with Owlman's child. And also Also back at Star Labs, Batman and Catwoman and Victor Stone somehow survived, and Batman brings Victor to Star Labs so his father could try to help him, because if you remember at the end of Trinity War, Victor's cyborg component, all of Victor's cyborg components pretty much got taken over by computer virus, and now he's barely living at this point. So yeah, a lot of stuff happens in Forever Evil number 2. Very great. I love it. We get a little more about the crime syndicate. I have a theory about Power Ring. We see that Power Ring's ring apparently, I think it's somehow feeding off him. Also, we learn a bit more about Owlman and Superwoman. About how Superwoman is married to Ultraman, but she's actually seeing Owlman on the side, and apparently now they've made a baby. And speaking of Ultraman, the tie-in I read, Justice League number 24, is actually Ultraman's origin. And it's pretty much almost like Superman's, except apparently Krypton wasn't destroyed by natural causes, it was actually attacked. And apparently that same being that attacked Krypton went to Earth years later. And also we learned that apparently Kryptonite does apparently give Kryptonians their superpowers, but Earth's yellow sun will weaken them. And when baby Kal-El, yeah, that's actually Ultraman's Kryptonian named Kal-El, lands on Earth, he finds a piece of kryptonite, gets superpowers, and he pretty much forces the Kents, who are not very good people at all, to be his parents up until. And Ultraman comments apparently that the Kents were his parents up until the age of 7, when he didn't need them anymore. And back in the present though, on Earth 1 or Earth Prime, wherever the heck the main DCU, whatever they call the main DCU now, Ultraman decides to visit that universe's Daily Planet, and he attacks Jimmy Olsen, he attacks Lois Lane, and Jimmy tries to get Superman's help, but Superman, he's not around. Jimmy activates his signal watch, but instead of Superman showing up, we get Black Adam, and pretty much the issue ends with Black Adam's Ultraman getting ready to throw down. Okay, yeah, positives. I really like how Lex Luthor is written for Forever Evil number 2. All right, I mean Jeff Johns does a good job capturing who Luthor is. You know, I mean the way it was written, it was like you think, wow, this is Lex Luthor. This is how he thinks, because that's how Luthor's always been. He pretty much wants to prove that he's the best, and the way he can do that is by defeating the crime syndicate, who are currently taking over the world. Also, I do like how, for tie-ins, I do like how we're getting to know a little more background about members of the crime syndicate. I like these tie-ins that tell us more about the villains. I kind of hope we get more in-depth issues like that for each member, just so we know what their powers are and why they do the things that they do, stuff like that. I can't wait. I really am enjoying Forever Evil, and let's face it, pretty much about a month ago, the main 3 events that were going on were Infinity, Battle for the Atom, and Forever Evil. Well, guess what? Battle for the Atom is over. Infinity is pretty much gonna end in a couple weeks. So Forever Evil will be the only event still going on. I say get Forever Evil. It is awesome. I was skeptical at first, but it's proven to be a really big payoff. Can't wait to see what happens. Can't wait to see what happens next. Okay, my number 1 pick for comics I read in October 2013 is Batman number 24. This is the issue where Bruce finally dons the cape and the cowl and becomes Batman. This is it. This is when he becomes Batman. Things get real. Batman's able to figure out what the Red Hood gang is after exactly. They've stolen a bunch of chemicals. They've tried covering it up with a bunch of other random robberies, but Batman's able to figure it out. He's able to figure they're building some sort of chemical bomb. They're doing it at Ace Chemicals. So as Bruce Wayne, Bruce decides to hold a press conference in front of Ace Chemicals to let people know that, you know, the Red Hood gang is building this bomb in this building, and when he does this, he attracts the attention of the Gotham City PD and the media. He kind of lets them know what the Red Hood gang is doing. He also gives them this big impassionate speech about Gotham City, how the reason why people stay is because they know Gotham is hard, but it challenges people there and makes them stronger because of it. Of course, right when Bruce is doing this speech, the Red Hood gang attacks. Bruce sneaks in to kind of keep the factory under their control. Of course, Bruce is able to sneak in with some help from Alfred, and once Bruce sneaks in, he's able to he pretty much confirms that yeah, they are building a bomb. And when he does this, he's caught by the Red Hood leader. Right when that happens, though, he has Alfred cut the power to the building. Bruce uses this opportunity to sneak away and change to Batman when he does. Also, fortunately, he's able to make it look like Batman saved Bruce Wayne. Once that's done, Batman's able to fight off all the Red Hood gang leaders and destroy most of their materials. Also, he does kind of get into a confrontation with the Gotham City PD, but he's able to fight back and get away from them. And Batman is able to find the leader right as he's getting onto a helicopter. Batman goes after him. Unfortunately, the copter malfunctions. They both go back into the factory as it's collapsing, and when this happens, the catwalk they're standing on breaks in half, and Batman tries to save the leader, but unfortunately, the leader just dives right into the vat of chemicals. Yeah, so you obviously know who the leader of the Red Hood gang was at this moment, and so pretty much that's where the main story ends. The backup feature actually does. The backup feature in this issue, because every single issue of Batman has had like a little backup story. This one actually does, take place right after the events at Ace Chemicals. Pretty much Alfred and Bruce talk, and Batman says that he's figured out that apparently a lot of the gang members thought that the leader of the Red Hood was this guy named I think. What was his name? They said it was like Leonard something, but apparently yesterday the body of the guy suspected to be the leader was discovered in a metal, in like one of those metal barrels right outside the amusement mile. But unfortunately, the body was too damaged that they couldn't determine when and where he died. So Batman believes, though, that apparently that someone may have killed the real Red Hood leader a while ago, and that the guy he fought last night could have been someone else entirely, who he has no idea who it is, or the guy was a duplicate who may have switched off with the real leader at some point. So, there's that ambiguity. I mean, obviously, the Red Hood leader we know is the guy who fell in the chemicals is the Joker, and I think because of that. Once again, Scott Snyder does kind of like play on the whole, once again, kind of reinforce the ambiguity about who the Joker really is. And also, at the end of the backup feature, after Alfred and Bruce have this conversation about how Bruce being Batman is going to change things in Gotham, and how Alfred does say that your parents would be proud of you. Suddenly, Edward Nygma appears for the first time on TV as the Riddler. And what Riddler does next is he causes the citywide blackout that we apparently saw at the very start of Zero Year back in Batman 21. And that's pretty much where the issue ends. Alright. Batman number 24 was awesome. I loved it. There are several moments in this issue where you get some homages to classic Batman. There are some pretty cool moments within the artwork, like on the very first few pages when Batman's taking out a bunch of Red Hood thugs. When he's taking out a bunch of Red Hood thugs, there is one panel that's kind of an homage to Detective Comics number 27, which was the first cover appearance of Batman. That was very nice. Also, Batman's pretty much forced to cut out all the power to Ace Chemicals by causing a larger blackout, and when he does it, apparently the buildings were all blacked out in the shape of a bat. So that was kind of cool. And also, I do like how Scott Snyder did use the Red Hood as kind of Bruce's first real main antagonist upon his return to Gotham City. And it was great seeing the evolution of how Bruce became Batman, and the events that led up to the Red Hood leader falling into the vat of chemicals, which, again, Joker. So, at first when it started out, they were just like a gang leader and this mysterious nameless vigilante. Now it's Batman and Joker. Well, we don't actually see him becoming Joker at this issue, which kind of sucks, because I think that would have, I don't know, I think that would have been kind of cool, but I think it made a lot of people like, why do we have to see that? But yeah, I would say, yeah, this so far, Zero Year, I like it. I think it's a great retelling of Batman's origin for the New 52. Do I think it's better than Year One? No. Unfortunately, Year One is still my favorite Batman origin, but this is a pretty close second. Zero Year right now, and now we're starting to enter the whole blackout phase, if you got the first part of Zero Year in Batman number 21, you saw that Gotham was like in ruins. It was like all the power was gone. There was weeds growing everywhere. And I think now we're starting to enter that part of Zero Year, which is now going to be Batman's first battle with the Riddler. So yeah, the only downside about this issue is that it's about $6.99 or $7.99 for the digital combo. I got the digital combo, so I mean, yeah, I get this was an extra special sized issue, but it does. But $7.99, if you don't feel like paying $7 for one issue, I would just say wait for the first trade for Zero Year to come out. It should be out soon. It's going to collect pretty much all the issues of Zero Year right up to this point. So, even if you don't get this issue, but you've been reading Zero Year, if you want, you can get the trade. If you can get the trade and still enjoy it. Personally, I love Zero Year. I love what this story arc is doing with Batman. It's phenomenal. Highly recommend you pick it up. The Scott Snyder, again, killing it on Batman. I say that almost every time I get Batman, and it's true. He does an amazing job on it. That's why I love this. Why it's pretty much one of my favorite DC titles. Okay, that's it for me right now for reviewing. One more thing. I want to get into some sort of like news for my channel. Another thing, with guidelines to the way the reviews are coming out for November. Well, because Thanksgiving is at the end of the month, I don't really want to go that long without posting a video. So I think for starting next week, I'm going to go back to the weekly format for my comic reviews. So this way, you'll actually get to see all the comics I read this month instead of just my top 5 at the end of the month. I feel like in a way, so that's kind of good. But if you guys like the weekly format more than the monthly format, then let me know. Or if you want both, like if you want me to do my weekly reviews and at the end of the month want me to talk about my top 5 comics that I read this month, then let me know if you want both or one or the other. Just let me know. I mean, come on. That's why we have comment sections. But for the most part, still constructive criticism, and all that. So please, yeah. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Spider-Man 1991 saying see you later.